Nick speaking, and welcome to this video, Eldar Learning Curve. And in this video we're looking at Eldrad. So this is, I suppose, just a direct follow-on from the previous video about the Farseers, because let's face it, Eldrad is basically a Farseer. It is a special character, so you can't play around with the war gear options, they're just there. But by the time you've paid for some of the features on this Farseer, you potentially might as well just be taking Eldrad. You know, it's a fine line there. But what Eldrad gives you over and above a normal Farseer is the staff that he's holding, which basically lets you use 3 powers as opposed to 2 psychic powers in one turn, which is fantastic. And it also ignores armor saves. So effectively, it's not a power weapon, it ignores armor saves. So regardless of your enemy's armor, they won't get a save. So that's another quite a good thing. He also has the 3+ invulnerable save as opposed to a 4+. Now he's not going to be uber in assaults or anything like that. It's still a defensive character, but you know, it just gives you that little bit extra to play around with that you don't get on your Farseer. He comes as stock with all of the powers, and in the previous video I was talking about swapping out your powers. Well, potentially if you are going to swap your powers out and you particularly want to get invisibility, then Eldrad's your dude to do it, because you will be able to swap out 4 powers. So there's a high percentage chance that you will get invisibility. So that is also something to bear in mind. But like I said in the previous video, if you're going to do that, then you're still going to want a Farseer in there to have the stock Doom, Guide and Fortune powers, because you're going to need those. Okay, so the other nice thing that Eldrad has, which is quite a nice thing to have, is a deviation. I can hardly say it. But yeah, deviation is really cool thing. Basically, after everyone's deployed and before scout moves, you can actually redeploy a D3+1 units. So in other words, 2 units, because you're not going to want to hope that you can move 3 units, because you're only guaranteed to move 2 units. And I used to use this quite heavily in my Harlequin list, where I'd deploy 2 Wraith Lords, you know, to one side of my list, just to try and get my enemy to, you know, basically to siphon off a few units. So put them, you know, in a position your enemy will deploy, and then you use your deviation and bring them back into the core, and then you've just siphoned a couple of units away from you. Can work quite well, you know, and if your enemy forgets that you've got it, it can be a bit of a surprise for them. So it's well worth bearing that in mind, because it can be overlooked. But yeah, overall, Eldrad is just an uber Farseer. The one thing which annoyed me a little bit, the previous FAQ, not the one that's just gone up, the one before, was basically the psychic powers in the Eldar army can no longer be used from inside the tank to affect units outside of the tank. Which is how I was using Eldrad. I had him in my Wave Serpent, and he was double guiding or double fortuning or double dooming from inside the tank. And I say double because you can use the same power twice with his staff, which is really useful, because then you can fortune 1 unit, then you can guide another unit, and then you can go back and then you can fortune or guide a different unit. So that's really useful, but you can't do that from inside a vehicle now. So if you are going to have him in a vehicle, then arguably you might be better off just to save a few points, even if it's only 20 points or so, and just take a generic Farseer. But if you've got him on foot, then he's very useful to have all those psychic powers. Just going to turn him around here. Yeah, so that's something else to bear in mind as well. Now, Eldrad can't go on a jet bike, so if you're going the jet bike route, then Eldrad is not your man. That's worth considering as well. Right, okay, so hopefully that was useful to you. Next up, we're going to have a look at the Autarch. and see what he has to offer us. Thanks for watching.